welcome back. You're watching Gunning for Growth. Whether or not the finance minister will deliver this budget and what are the expectations? We're getting down deep into sectors. Let's pick up infrastructure first. Mr. Gulabchand, huge issues in infrastructure, especially in terms of execution delays. What could the budget do beside announcing big plans?
It's not just execution delays. Infrastructure sector has been slowing down for the last almost a year. We were supposed to increasingly spend and finally reach at least 9% of GDP on infrastructure. And then you take certain amount of agricultural infrastructure, it would have gone to 11%.
Why is it slowing down?
It is slowing down because no new projects are coming up. There are issues related to environment which have stalled many projects from happening, directly or indirectly.
Right.
Some the project itself, some because the linkages of the supply chain are not approved because of environmental. That is one. Number two, there have been a number of issues relating to the National Highway Authority which have raised issues about governance. Right. And therefore there has been a slowing down of issues.
But then what's the point of new projects coming up? I mean, if some of these are not moving ahead.
That's precisely the point. I'm just saying to you, therefore we suddenly have a lull in new projects coming up. Existing projects have also, some of the existing projects have been closed down as a result of that. So it's necessary for us to take a comprehensive view that if we want infrastructure to happen, how are we going to ensure that all the environmental concerns are met, all kinds of concerns must be, procurement processes must be clear, okay. It must be transparent. I do agree with that. The question is, can we get our act together so we can do it on time?
Okay, that's an important question. I think it's been raised every single budget. Shivinder Mohan Singh, let's talk about healthcare. Demand of a tax holiday extension. Talk to us about that in detail. And, do you expect realistically the finance minister will give in?
Well, I think when I'm talking about infrastructure status or priority sector, I'm including a lot of sub-items in that. We do, as you know, have a 5-year tax holiday for healthcare. And as I've mentioned many times before, a hospital takes 7 to 10 years to break even. So a 5-year tax holiday doesn't really do much as an incentive, but it needs to be 10 to 15 years to actually be a meaningful impact. So yes, tax holidays would be a part of it. It cannot be the only thing, but certainly a part of it and a very significant part to get investments to come into the market.
Okay, what about 100% weighted deduction in terms of, companies or firms that are linked directly into operations of hospitals? To what extent do you think that 100% weighted deduction could be part of this budget?
Well, I think firstly it exists already and it's come into place only the last couple of years. It's there, but it's only there for a period of 5 years. And like I mentioned, if you look at the macroeconomic environment, if we have 1 bed to 1,000 population, where the WHO says for a country like India, we should talk about 3.3 beds to 1,000, with 30% of what the infrastructure we need. Obviously, in the last decade, as we've seen, nothing significant has come into investments in healthcare, in the infrastructure space, and therefore, the current environment is not producing enough hospital beds and it's not incentivizing people to invest in hospitals. Therefore, we need to do something. The government has done something, which is given a 5-year tax holiday. And practically speaking, if you look at the business that we are in, it doesn't, the hospital business doesn't make you get money in an 8 to 10 year period. So if you're going to give a tax holiday, at least make it 10 to 15, so making it meaningful.
Right. You're almost suggesting healthcare is what software was some years ago. But yes, those are important points from a sectoral standpoint. Auto, Dr. Goenka, in quite a spot, inflation, interest rates are going up. So really auto is desperate for some help.
Well, let me put it this way, that the auto industry last year has done very well, extremely well, more than what anybody had expected. And therefore there is thinking in a set of people in the government that perhaps auto industry does not need help and perhaps it can give more in the kitty of the government. I think that will be a wrong thinking because it's like killing a golden goose. Auto industry today contributes almost 20% to the whole excise collection. Many people don't realize that. And therefore we need to maintain the growth of the auto industry and not see how we can extract more excise per vehicle sold. And therefore one of the main things that we are looking for is there should be no increase in excise.
What's your fear? Would it happen?
There is a fear that 10 could go to 12, right? Which is wrong on two parts. One is that it's going to slow down growth in many industries, not just auto. And second is that it's a signal going in the reverse direction of GST.
Sure. Nagit, this time the Prime Minister has not part of the budget, obviously, or not signaling towards the budget, but suggested that, retail could play a role in this whole inflation issue. Do you think there could be some attention to retail specifically in the budget this time?
See, being involved with the industry for 20 years, this is the first year when all the luminaries of the political system have used the word retail. Okay, only one word they have used. Yes, we believe that they have realized that retail is important, but it cannot be just one word. I think the intent has to go into the content of the budgetary speech. And it is last mile of consumption, so you can't avoid it. So if you ask me 3 expectation, at least bring retail into focus. It's already an existing business. Second is don't tinker with GST on the negative side. I mean, it's going to be a mess.
Right.
Okay, that's the second one. And the third is, I mean, just because retail dukandar that you are used to is 500 square feet, you think that there's not a capital intensive industry. This requires huge capital. Allow capital to flow in, whether it is domestic or international or foreign, it doesn't really make a difference.
Right.
Yeah, but capital is required if you really want to build in. And in one way, building up retail malls is also part of the social infrastructure.
Where in the infrastructure side of it could there be any concession that the finance minister could consider?
Well, if you think that hospital is important to cure people, I think retail therapy is also important to cure people. So the same kind of a method that you can use in terms of depreciation, this also takes you 7-8 years.
You know, the one aspect that the budget has to always focus on is also how to generate more funding abilities for various sectors. Now, infrastructure, there's some talk that possibly NBFCs and banks will be allowed to issue infrastructure bonds. Do you think that would be a fillip to the sector?
See, we have been crying that infrastructure needs a lot of long-term money, and it all cannot come by way of equity. So we have to create a serious debt market in this country. At least there's some talk this time. I hope the budget gives a clear signal that during the year this will happen.
Okay, we're going to, before we go into the break, Shivendra, one again aspect on healthcare is, you know, the investment in research and development. From a pharma standpoint, it keeps coming back, but I want to know from healthcare standpoint, what are the expectations from the FM? Would he give leeway for the R&D incentives that have existed? I know there are some. Could he actually extend or expand them?
Well, I think there the biggest challenge that we are facing as a country is the fact that there's a different perception if you do R&D within your organization and a different perception if you outsource R&D to another outfit. If we want to encourage innovation as a country, we need to understand and accept the fact that there will be different modalities companies use to find innovative ways to come out with new products. So I think there's one challenge is what gets covered under the current R&D reduction spend base. The other is how long will we have it for? I think clearly in the current environment where the global situation is the way it is, maybe an extension of that would be worthwhile.
We're going to slide into a break. When we come back, closing comments from all our panelists here, and more importantly, touch upon issues that are of national importance. What's the state of agriculture? Are we all expecting a boost there as well? Also, the sentiment in the country today, does that really favor a budget that needs to truly fix the economy, because there's too much happening to influence, and probably negative energies are far too much at work? Come back for that.